Hello, Spring Run family and friends. This is Pastor Andrew Conrad coming to you to provide a town hall recording from the meetings we had in February, our town hall meetings. Since those were not recorded then, I am recording over that slideshow now to present it to you so that if you missed it, you can see it. And this will be helpful to you as we consider our options going forward for expanding and renovating our building. And so let me get started and take you through it. And as we do that, let me begin with a little bit of a reminder of our vision. Right? For us to be flourishing for the next decade means we are going to focus on making growing followers of Jesus who influence others with the gospel, because that's what we've always been about. Now, how are we going to do that? We're going to do that as we go out to serve and share our faith and listen to other stories of faith. We're going to gather people in for hospitable worship, and we're going to grow together in authentic relationships. You've probably heard us use that language, and you'll hear us use it again, that we are going to make growing followers as we're going, gathering, and growing together. But not only are we going to be making those growing followers, flourishing for the next decade means sending. Because the health of a church is not only measured by its seating capacity, but by its sending capacity. So that means we'll be sending mission teams on short-term projects and sending some long-term missionaries. It means we will continue to partner in a movement with our presbytery to try to see 10 churches planted in the next decade. We won't do that alone, but we'll partner with them in doing it. And flourishing means we are going to be expanding facilities, because ministry happens in places with space for those who are not yet here. Yeah, we have to create space for those who are not yet here with us and have a place that is for all ages and stages of life, reflecting the diversity of our community, a place where they have voices and seats at the table, where everybody feels loved and valued and honored. Our hope is that we will be able to grow to an average attendance on Sunday mornings of 400 people in one service. That would be about a 30 to 35% increase over what our current seating capacity is. Now, if you're wondering, what does that look like? What would that feel like in our church space? It's a great question. And a good test case for that was Christmas Eve. If you were here with us on Christmas Eve, we had 386 people, but we added 60 folding chairs to do that. And that's what we would have to do. There's been a few times in February and again in March and in April, I think was a time as well, where we had over 300 people on a Sunday morning, and it probably felt full to you. And that's at about 75% full. So when we hit about 75% and certainly 80%, it feels full. We don't have a dream of becoming a mega church or a super large church. We'll probably be a medium-sized church that'll be a sending church, and sending people out and training leaders and sending them out. So why should we plan for expansion then? Well, our attendance growth shows that we are nearing functional capacity and likely will plateau. Probably in the fall sometime we'll plateau and won't be able to grow much more in the service that we have. Our kids and children's and youth ministries are booming, which has been fantastic. Our 3, 4, 5 ministry to 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders that meets on Sunday evenings twice a month is growing so much. It's been a great ministry. They meet in the sanctuary. They cannot meet in the youth room because the youth group meets then. And you might say, well, what if they met at a different time? They can't do what they do in the youth room. It's not big enough, and that's why they use half of the sanctuary, clearing the chairs to have the space to do it. The youth group uses the youth room, but it's also outgrowing that. There are nights when they have bigger events, they have to come into the sanctuary when they have 50 plus people because they can't gather in the youth room with that many students. Other space issues that we run into are things like our newcomer lunches or our Sunday school classes. We can only really have one adult Sunday school class in the sanctuary. And when we have to shuffle things around or have a newcomer lunch, it displaces people from where they are and trying to shuffle needs. And so we are at this point where we need a facility expansion. So let me walk you through some of the slides that we showed at our town hall meetings about our master plan for expansion. What is a master plan? This is a good question to note as we look at this. A master plan addresses square footage needs, where big blocks of space go, and how to connect the building for flow. What it does not do is address paint colors, finishes, windows, doors, technology, or the kind of playground equipment we might have. So keep that in mind as we go through this. Let me take you onto a first slide here. Whoop, back up one. This is the current facility that we have. You can see my cursor on the screen. This is the sanctuary, right? And these are some nursery rooms and bathrooms. And then down here is more kid stuff, as well as the youth area for children's worship and so forth for Sunday school classes. This detached part that's kind of weird looking is the balcony. That's the second floor, showing you where the balcony currently is. And our seating is where the purple is, and the brown spaces are currently classrooms. We currently have 16,808 square feet. What projects 2 and 3 will do is add to that. So you can see on this slide here, project 1 is the sanctuary space, project 2 is the lobby or fellowship gathering space, and project 3 adds onto that end of the building, goes into that lower parking lot, a whole kids educational wing. Projects 2 and 3 together will add 9,952 square feet of new space to the building. And so these projects are designed to address some current needs in this way. Let me show you a little bit here. This is the balcony, and it shows removal of classrooms on the sides and adding seats in for that. That's part of project 1. By the way, as I talk about projects 1, 2, and 3, that does not mean that's the exact order that they would occur in. That's just how we've labeled them on the building plan for now. We still have to determine what order they will get done in. This is a view of the whole area. And so everything that's in this yellowish beige color is what is new space here and here. Also, you'll notice down here on the left end of the building, if you were to walk down the hallway to the current places where the nursery and then the kids' classrooms are, you would see this. That is a project 4 that is probably a decade or more out, and so we're not even considering that at this point. We still have the use of those spaces there that we can use right now, and so there's no point in tearing those trailers out. Those are actually 2 trailers back there. There's no point in tearing those out right now and losing that space without having space to house our kids and children and stuff and youth. So here's a video that I'm going to play for you that shows you what all this new space could look like. Projects 1, 2, and 3. It doesn't have any musical audio with it to make it all fancy and exciting, but here you would see that all this on the front of the building would be new. This would be the new lobby that we are walking into these doors. You would come into it. Here it's about 1,600 square feet of space. This lobby, you see people here, these animated people. I don't know if any of these are supposed to be me, but here they are, greeting one another. And then behind this gentleman with the cane here, this space, this is where our current glass door is to enter the building from outside to going in. You would be going into it right now, into that hallway, and then through our current doors into the sanctuary. Clearly that must be Jake standing there on stage, because that does not look like me. But here you can see what happens, that the balconies get opened up. There's glass railing there. And then this back, those seats are brought forward closer to the edge of the balcony with a glass railing. So it's a wraparound balcony where people feel more engaged and part of what's going on in the service. It'll seat 132 people. Currently seats about 60. And the sound booth that is currently up there would get moved into this back corner down here. As you leave the sanctuary, going out the doors just like you would now, you're now walking into this new lobby space and a new hallway that would go down into our Project 3 education wing that would again sit on that lower parking lot or part of it. Some bathrooms immediately to the left. There's a check-in place here for kids. and then doors here and here, left and right, that secure the hallways, which is a big loop. And this loop goes into where all the nursery and children's wing would be, as well as high school and youth, and it walks all the way around that. What's going to happen here is we're going to take you in a door that's going to show you this big space that's for the youth. And again, this is about 1,600 square feet on the end of the building. It's dividable by some movable dividers that are like hotel type dividers that you see on either side there to make it 3 classrooms, but could open up into one big room. And you could go out those doors. There'll be a patio of some kind here overlooking a new parking lot and a new playground that would get put in right here. Our current playground would move down into this green space, and that's where we could have our picnics and outreach events, because our parking would expand out into the front territory. Here you see this with the roof lifted off, showing you this whole space of bathrooms and check-in, nurseries, kid stuff. This is the big youth wing on the right side over here where the cursor is. This whole area has also been designed in such a way that it can be preschool compliant if we would want to house a preschool. And again, the front lobby here would be a new add-on. And so there's the video of it. I will walk you through some slides of it as well. So as I walk through these slides, or maybe I'm going to skip ahead to the sanctuary, what we're going to call Project 1. And so I'm going to jump way ahead here, getting into the sanctuary space, which you saw in that walkthrough right here. And just to tell you, the sanctuary remodel wraps around the balcony with glass, like we said. You can notice that there as it shows all the glass here. The AV booth would be on the first floor down in the back corner here, which is next to what is my current office. The wall where the current storage and Joy's office is would get opened up, and more seating would go in there eventually, at least. And this renovation would take the current seats of about 340 chairs that are on the floor and a little over 60 chairs that are in the balcony. So we have about 400 chairs currently. It would change that, adding about 100 chairs, 132 in the balcony and about 375 on the floor. And what that means is it would allow us to grow from, if we have 75% capacity in the building, that's 375 people on an average Sunday. This would allow us to grow to, about 306 people on average attendance. This would allow us to go to 380, maybe even 400 people in Sunday attendance in one service. One question you might be asking is, okay, well, what's the cost to do that? The cost to do that sanctuary project is estimated to be $330,000. That includes all the fees and engineering costs and things like that, as well as labor and materials to redo the balcony, to move the sound booth downstairs and open up to put the AV booth downstairs and open up the balcony. This also allows us to gather for hospitable worship, which is one of the things we want to do. The Project 2, the Gathering Edition, when you were to go out these doors and look at that, let's go back to that and show you that. When you exit the sanctuary currently, the feel you get is as if you are leaving the front of the sanctuary. Sorry, get back to this here. Yeah, so here we go. You would come out the doors and you hit the hallway and you feel like you're at an airport where you just got off the plane and you're like, quick, get out the doors, and now all of a sudden you're outside and you got to leave and go find cars. So this is the lobby, obviously, this all new area, and these are where the current outside doors are, these holes where we'd walk through, and then the current walkway in there. What this does is this space allows us to have multifunctionality use. It allows us to have people gather on Sunday mornings and have coffee and fellowship, and provides room for 150 to 200 people in standing room only. If we were to use it for something different, like say a lunch midweek that we wanted to do, we could pretty easily fit 10 round tables in there with 80 people, maybe even 100 people in that space. We can use it on Sunday nights, 3, 4, 5, or the youth group could use it as a secondary space, or if they needed to swap spaces and have that additional use. And it can be used for community events as well. And it adds 1,600 square feet of space. That is roughly 1/3 the size of the sanctuary, and so that can be that's very much needed space for us, as we don't have a place to gather. People leave and they have to stand in the hallway or go to the parking lot, and the message that they get is get in the car and go. We don't want that message. We want to be fellowshipping with one another. The cost for that is $756,000. Let's go on to the third project, which is the Education Edition. That, as I said, is preschool compliant. We might want to house a preschool in the future. We haven't for sure committed to that. But as long as we were going to build new space and that could be a ministry to the community, we thought we should build it in such a way that it could do that. So this would be a check-in desk. These would be a place where 3, 4, 5 can gather with a dividable wall that could be opened up into one big room, but on Sunday mornings, multiple classrooms. You have nurseries, other preschool rooms, and you have this wing over here. These 3 rooms would be for high school and middle school, but again with movable walls that open up and then make a space that's again about a size of the third of the sanctuary. The cost for this project, which includes all the civil and site engineering and new parking to add about 35 new spaces from our current 110 spaces of parking to 145 spaces, is the cost for all that is $4 million. And that's a big cost, but that's a lot of new square footage. About 8,500 new square feet. So I'm going to kind of take us back to the end of this show. Sorry, go this way. And we had a time in those town hall meetings for questions, and I'm going to answer some of those questions now. One of the things is like, well, what does that do as we do these phases? How do we make it work in between things? And it's a great question. We know there would be pain points during different phases. We know that the hallways are really tight, that there's not really sufficient gathering space, even outside with the patio that we have, which is wonderful. It can't accommodate everybody, and it's weather permitting, which is great for about 8 months of the year. Our parking is a constraint right now. We have an overflow lot. If you did not know this, we have an overflow lot down the street. You go past the Lucky's gas station and keep going down that street, and it's on the right. There's a pathway that comes back to our property, and so that's overflow parking. Some people also park in the Lucky's parking lot there where that strip mall is across the street from us. We would lose 2 classrooms. When we do project 1 and open up the balcony, we lose 2 classrooms. We also lose 2 office spaces at some point, my office and Joy's office. One of the other pain points is we will be growing, hopefully continue growing as we have seats and growing, bringing new people in, but our Sunday school classrooms are still small, both for our kids and for our youth. And we still only have 1 adult space in the sanctuary until we finally get the whole master plan project done. So we will likely have to live with growing pains for some time, for years in most cases. And we have to be aware of that and know what that's going to look like. We need areas. We know that we need areas for worship. We need areas for connection and gathering and fellowship, such as that lobby. We need areas for fellowship space, and we need to know that as we grow, our Sunday school program will lag behind growth. Like as people will come in, then they might start going to Sunday school and it'll start filling up, but they may not do that right away. A question is, can we afford this? We have current cash savings that can go toward this of about $300,000. We will likely have to do a capital campaign to do all of this, but that doesn't mean it'll all happen at once. It'll probably happen in phases, and at some point we'll have to do that. We are beginning now a feasibility study to help us assess our capability to do this and carry this out. How much money can we raise? How should we go about doing this? Is our congregation supportive and encouraged and unified around this? And so that feasibility study, which you will be hearing probably some information about and concluding with the report back to us in June, will assist us greatly in this. So what are some of the other questions? What about a kitchen? I didn't see a kitchen. Well, the kitchen would get expanded a little bit. It gets a little bit bigger and get some improvements. Some people have wondered if it should be larger, was a question asked. The youth group space, that, as I said, is about a third of the size of the sanctuary, and it's a really good size space. The 345 room is also big. It's about 2/3 the size of the youth space, if you want to think of it that way. And so these are not the hugest rooms, but they're rooms saying if we grew about 30 to 35%, what would we need? And that's how we solved for that. People have asked about playground equipment. Would we get new playground equipment? Well, we know we need new playground equipment, and certainly when we relocate the playground, we would have to do that. The playground cost, I do not believe, was included in the estimate because the estimate was for the building. Other questions have been, what about Wellspring? What do they do? Well, currently Wellspring is a missionally aligned partner with us. It's a separate business, but they rent space from us at a very good deal because we value what they do, and we provide some assistance, some counseling assistance for scholarships for people who need that. And so we value that. We have to evaluate as we go through what happens. And Wellspring has a lease with us, and as those things come up, we'll evaluate that. But we love our partnership with them, and hopefully we can continue that into the future. The other questions, there's maybe a few other questions that were listed there, but I'm not going to go through all of those. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to contact us, reach out to me, and I'd be happy to talk to you about it. Project One helps us with our vision, right? Because part of what we are trying to do is gather for hospitable worship in places that are welcoming and receptive to people. And that helps us do that. Helps us allow to gather people for worship in a hospitable, safe, clean place and grow, hopefully, to about 400 people in regular Sunday attendance. Projects 2 and 3 help us because we are growing together in authentic community. So we don't grow simply by showing up to church to worship. We do that as we are challenged in other ways and we serve and connect with people. So while we have community groups that often meet in homes, some meet at the church, we have spaces at the church that are used for community events such as AA and other programs like that. We desperately need the space for our kids ministry and youth ministry, which is growing. And so this provides for all those spaces in that way as we try to go, gather, and grow as we make growing followers of Jesus. So thanks for tuning in and checking this out. And as I said, if you got questions, please don't hesitate to ask us. Some next steps you could take are to be praying for this whole process of the feasibility study. If you're not a member, but you've considered membership, I would say become a member now. As we take on these projects, the members will vote on this, and we need, if you want to have a voice and a vote in that, you need to become a member of the church because only members get to vote. If you're not a member and you're like, well, does this mean I'm part of this? Can I stay around? And absolutely, we are so glad you are here. We want everybody to know what's going on and be involved in it. But the way our bylaws are written are only members vote on matters such as these. And then the other next step is to participate in the feasibility study as you're asked. You will likely get an electronic survey, and we really, really need you to fill that out. So you should look for that to come into your email, and that would probably happen in May sometime. So please be on the lookout for that and be praying with us that God would bless us, that he would guide us and lead us to do what he wants us to accomplish. So thanks for listening, and we love all of you.